Here I got my M1972 combat boots. Found out that the actual designation for these boots are leather combat boots DMS. DMS standing for direct molded sole. And these are original RO Search sole boots. These were made in 1983. On the 9th week, with the reporting mark NS, which means that these were made by Welco, otherwise known as RO Search. These are also a 8.5R. And this is my 1 month review. I originally bought these boots on June 8th, and they arrived on June 17th. It is now July 17th, and I've basically done as much work that I can with these that is available to me. I've also worn them to the movies a few times. I've gotten a little bit of dirt and dust on them. I bought these to originally replace my 1948 combat boots and to also replace my Corcoran field boots, since both of them are worn down and are pretty old. I'm not really sure if they're really able to be worked on, or at least these ones are old enough that I don't really know if they can be worked on. There's too much of the leather is destroyed and whatnot. Not sure if they would be worth saving. I had also bought these boots to alternate with my whites Line Scouts, and I think during my senior year in high school, I think I'm going to regulate these to more of a dress shoe duty for events and whatnot, since these boots are easier to shine. They were made to be shined, unlike something like my actual work boots. Even though I have been working with these, I've been working on soft dirt, been walking on concrete, and to be honest, I thought the soles would be like giving a lot of feedback into my knees, but surprisingly they haven't, especially when I start running a few short distances in these. Thought that my knees would be feeling it, but they haven't. And it's very odd to me that the break-in with these boots, I barely even noticed them. I really thought that these boots would be like real tight, and break-in would be just absolutely killer. However, these have been really like soft, and I think that may be because of the leather that the boots are made out of. From what I understand, was that from the 1930s to around the 80s, the United States military was using re-tanned leather. So the leather would start out as chrome tan leather, so it would be blue, and then it was sent back to be re-tanned in vegetable tanning compounds, and you got both the durability of a chrome tanned leather and also the benefits from a vegetable tanned leather, to where you'd get no I guess negative reactions from any of the chromium salts and chemicals. So break-in on these boots has been soft or easy. However, I had still brought in my whites with me just to swap out if I ever felt like it. However, these have been really good, very good. It's not really a whole lot I could say about these. Um, something I did notice was that original combat boots from, or the original run of these boots during the Vietnam War. These boots have 9 eyelets running up the boot. However, original pictures show that they had a 10th eyelet, and they didn't have this little cutout here. And that's pretty much it. And I actually got these kind of confused with another type of boot. Gotten these a bit confused with the wing walker boots, which are like a boot that are probably about as tall as where that cutout is. And those boots were used by the Navy because they had a sole similar to this, and that sole was the one that I got confused with, where those ones were to keep foreign objects out of the soles and getting sucked into jet engines. These boots were 100% originally supposed to be issued to your standard infantrymen during the Vietnam War. However, the jungle boots were being issued, and those were more adequate for being a combat boot in the jungle environments of Vietnam. These boots here still retained a little bit of moisture because this is an all leather boot, and there's no drainage holes at all in these. But these were sidelined to non-echelon troops, and they also were used by armored vehicle crewmen. So I guess used by M1972 crewmen, or possibly the Commando V100 vehicles that were developed to be used to defend convoys, but that vehicle was found inadequate, and was found that the gun trucks of Vietnam were better than that vehicle. But I guess the guys that were supposed to drive those vehicles would have been using these boots. And apparently these boots were also being worn by helicopter pilots, just because they're all leather boot. So you're flying at high altitude. Yes, your feet wouldn't freeze, but also serve another purpose that if they were to crash and there was a fire, these boots wouldn't burn. I know that jungle boots, I don't have a pair of jungle boots, but I have a pair of desert combat boots, which are the same pattern, and they have a nylon canvas upper right about up here that if flames are right next to that canvas, that nylon canvas, it'll start melting and then it'll start burning, and that material burns really fast. So it would be much better to have a all-leather upper boot. So yeah, I just wanted to clear up any mistakes in my original video of these boots, and I guess to also just give an update of how these boots were. Once again, I had gotten these from the Army Surplus Warehouse in Lexington, Kentucky. You could also find these at various other online surplus stores. From what I understand, I don't think Rothco has made a knockoff version of these boots yet. I know that they made a knockoff of the other all-leather combat boot with the direct molded sole, the one where like there are like big like circle divots in the sole, and where it's mostly flat, and where they don't have eyelets but they have those speed laces that go all the way up. I know that Rothco has knockoffs of those. And also infuriating is that Rothco has, I think, what is supposed to be a knockoff of the 48 combat boots. But whatever. I don't really have much else to say. I think that these would be a good boot when I move back to Montana. There's a lot of soft ground in the part of Montana that I live in. A lot of rocky terrain, steep slopes that I'm pretty sure this sole might come in handy with. Anyways, over and out.